Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Accommodation Show. This week, I am joined by the wonderful Tim Mortimer. Welcome back to the show.
G'day, Bart. Thank you very much for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm very excited to be here. I told you before I was looking at my calendar for this morning, and I'm like, oh, Tim's coming onto the podcast again. And the reason why I've got you back on the podcast is because we're doing the Building It series. Understanding how people are building their business, how they're growing their business, how they got to where they are. And since we had you on last, you've gone from, I think it was 140, 150 properties to now around about 250 properties in under 2 years. So that's incredibly impressive. You're doing some cool, unique things that a lot of other operators aren't doing out there. So I'm really looking forward to talking to you and hopefully teaching people how they could emulate your steps to get to where you are today. Tim, how you going?
Yeah, great. Thank you. I think when we last spoke, we were at 140 properties, and it's funny looking back. 140 was the biggest. I couldn't even dream of getting to that point. But yeah, as you do in business, you keep sort of setting new goals and pushing the limit a bit and striving to achieve them. So yeah, here we are today, a couple of years down the track, 240. So feels great.
It's incredibly impressive because I even remember when we were talking last time. From my perspective, I was like, oh, 140 properties, it's huge. And now we're at 250 properties and it's a lot bigger. And I guess you're going to keep in scaling and growing and hopefully enjoying that journey. But one of the things that I know that you did recently is you sat down, and I think you've been doing it the whole time, and kind of planning out your vision and your mission and that sort of thing. And I know that you did it recently. And one of the things that came out of that I noticed was that you made decisions on what you were going to do and not be doing based on that strategy overall. How crucial is your strategy in sitting down and making a plan?
Yeah, that's really interesting, Bart. We've actually, I suppose, I always adopted that from the start or very early on, and it was a little point in time very early on. We're talking 10 properties where I had one, or maybe 15. I had one staff member, and then I saw someone with different values come in and sort of act in a different way than I would, and understood that we needed some sort of direction to keep me separate from BNB Made, but BNB Made moves forward with its values and culture as well. So. At that very small sort of stage, we sort of set some core values, and then it's interesting when you say that we've gone from 140 to 240 or so. That's been a whole different journey to the first sort of 100 and or so. It's just if things get much more complex, planning becomes way more important to make sure that your staff are moving towards a common goal as well. Otherwise, things can derail quite quickly. So extremely important to make sure that you're regularly reviewing plans, completing them, analysing them, and setting new ones as well.
Tell me about the process of making those plans, because I've been talking to people and they're like, yeah, I'm going to make a plan. But in a practical sense, is there anything that you're doing? Are you using ChatGPT to say, I need to make a plan? What is a plan? How do we structure a plan?
Yeah, it's funny. I suppose my weakness is writing documents. That's where I use ChatGPT to help me. However, it's not going to do the thinking. It can guide for you, but doesn't know your business, your environment, etc. So definitely stripping it back to a bit of a situational analysis from yourself, maybe even bring some external people in, or some of your key employees in as well to help you with that. And that's your typical SWOT analysis. Observe the current market, observe the local market. Now in Melbourne, you've got tariffs on your short-term rentals. New South Wales is potentially looming as well. So you've got to keep all of those things in mind before you set your next plan so that you're not surprised by any sort of market changes. It might help you strategically sort of decide on which direction you want to go. And definitely when you have others who input, not opening the door too wide, but, some other key people that you trust that can bring a different perspective. That's very valuable when it comes to setting your plans, because sometimes you can get caught in your own mindset and it may not be the right direction for the company. But if you can sort of create that environment where you're allowed to share ideas, your ideas are allowed to be challenged, I think that sort of sets the best sort of foundation to then make a strategy moving forward, considering everyone's point of view.
Yeah, interesting. So when, of course, when you first started, the planning was completely different to what it is today. So today you're speaking to your teams, to your people that you've got in the business, getting their input, getting their ideas, and aligning it with your vision and your mission. When you're first starting, you don't really have that team and you don't have those people to align with, but you understood that it was important to have a plan so that people, even one employee or the first few employees, know where you're actually going. When you're making the plan, how far ahead are you thinking?
I think it's really important as a leader of the company to have a few steps ahead of everyone else, to be thinking that 12 to potentially 2 years or even 5 year plan down the track, knowing that it might change, but it's good to have a longer goal. It helps you make decisions along the way. But for the team, it's probably a 6 to 12 month plan of a bit of a guide as to where we're going, just so that there's clarity on what they're working towards every day. There's no uncertainty about it, because if people don't know what they're doing, they're turning up to work and they're making things up because obviously they want to keep the work, and that's when things can go wrong. So definitely having a plan. We've built to the point where we have departments now. So that's kind of easier to sort of set a department plan based on its goals and then measurables on that department. So earlier on, when we were just starting, you're just kind of hustling to get your properties and your sales and learning and all that kind of thing. So definitely having as you get larger, it's more about team and training your team up, bringing them all up to scratch as well, encouraging them, motivating them, delegating to them as well, not doing it all yourself, because I think that's the way that you can truly look forward and continue growing the company.
Interesting. I really like the idea that you might have the vision for the 5 or 10 years, but the more immediate plans, the ones that the teams are working towards and achieving. And I think that the main thing for me is it really helps for them to know what they shouldn't be doing more than anything else, right? That we've got so many tasks and so many things that we could be working on within the business, but if we have some sort of a strategy, we go, well, is it actually aligning with where we're trying to go, or am I wasting my time on, just like you said, just working on, just kind of grinding the gears to keep a job? I want to go back. Let's go back. Let's introduce everyone to BNB Made Easy and tell them your story as to how you got started in the business, and maybe inspire some people that are looking to get started in terms of what is actually possible for them.
Yeah, so I love our story, by the way. I'm really passionate about the industry. I'm passionate about our community. I was a school teacher, and I was picking up a bit of extra work just to help pay the mortgage in Orange in New South Wales, country New South Wales. Known for a lot of different sort of industries, agribusiness, food and wine and tourism, then also some sort of larger scale industries such as health and mining as well. So quite a diverse range of industries that travel to Orange for their work or for their holiday. I saw the opportunity in all the. I noticed a fair few homes were just sitting empty. I grew up on a vineyard. We planted a vineyard as kids too, so sort of saw mum and dad sort of work really hard. They really taught me about the hospitality piece. It's pure country hospitality. Dad's incredible at it. He looks after everyone who comes into his vineyard and keeps that real personal touch about it.
Mm.
So that was really good role model and mentor for me looking forward. And then I thought, you know what, I was 32. If I don't give it a crack now, I might regret it forever. So I just step one, learn more about the short-term rental industry. So I found someone to talk to, and then that really inspired me to give it a go. And then step two, get your real estate license. I did, and then step three, first cold call. Let's give it a go. So
Mm.
I think that if you try and plan too much, it can really halt your progress. If you just get in and give it a go and sort of learn along the way, I think that's a great way to start.
Yeah, I love it. And when we're not lacking for knowledge and for information as to how to sort of run our businesses or how to scale them, how to grow them. There's just a plethora of resources that wouldn't actually have been there back in the day. I really like the idea of finding a coach, a mentor, or somebody that you can talk to. Even so much so that I know that there are people that came to our conference this year, and and made the leap and said, "Hey, I'm gonna pack in my job and give this a go, give it a try." Because they can see that other people are successful in the industry, and they've started to build a network of people that they can talk to and say, and get questions answered as they're actually working on their business and growing it. The interesting part that from what you just said was the pick up the phone and make the first cold call. Tell me about what that might look like for someone now.
Yeah, I remember it vividly. It was pretty exciting times. I just saw a property that would be great on Airbnb, and somehow it might have been one of those lucky moments or not, but you've got to take advantage of any sort of opportunity that you have. I walked through an open home and thought this would be great. I had a friend walking with us through, and they said, I know this owner. Then I got their number and, yeah, just made that cold call. So, yeah, I suppose it's about you've got to have something to pitch to them. You can't you've got to have a bit of substance to the call. I suppose it's the sales. And then what I was quite lucky in the fact that what the owner, my first owner, who's still with us, by the way, we're 7 years down the track, saw in me was just a young guy with a keen attitude, wanting to learn, hungry, positive, passionate. All of those sort of things really came across, I'm sure, and gave me a go. And I started there. And then 2 months later, she had obviously told someone because I hadn't marketed yet. And then I got another call, and then another call, and another call. So I only ever made one cold call in the early days in this business. So that's another pretty cool thing. How you might do that now? Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to find data. You could do letterbox drops to get that call. You could look for properties for sale. You could go to mortgage brokers. You could do a few things like that. And that would definitely sort of be a foot in the door. Let key people know that you exist and your service, and that's how you have to start. Yeah, and then if you offer good enough service, word of mouth will come around in circles for you, and then you won't have to try so hard. You'll just be managing the incoming properties as they come on. So
Yeah, yeah, for
that's
sure.
how I do it.
Yeah, I think that's a key part to a lot of people's growth is that word of mouth and those referrals and delivering a really good service. What do you think it is that sort of gets people talking and saying, "Hey, you've got to call Tim"?
Yeah, it's definitely your values again. If you really care, and I really cared. I really wanted to work. I wanted to keep a really positive reputation. I wanted to do things well. They put their trust in me. I wanted them to be successful. They know that, or that nothing's perfect along the way, but if something happens, you're the first one to call them up and tell them about it and let them know that you're going to fix it. Those kind of relationship foundation building sort of values really help people either stick on with you, when times might be challenging, or tell other people about you. It's their biggest investment, typically a property. They've got a few options and they're giving it to you as a short-term rental. So they're putting a lot of trust in you. So if you can get that going from the start and it is successful, then if it's successful, they're typically making more money than a long-term rental anyway, or they're very happy for the other benefits that it gives them. And then they are going to then tell, what do you do when you have a coffee with your friends? You talk about things that are going well. And yeah, typically for a lot of people, that if they've got an investment property, hey, this guy called Tim, he's just put my property on Airbnb and I earned this much per month. Oh, really? Blah, blah, blah. So it just flows from there. So that's that being human and building that relationship early.
What do you think the number one problem is that you're solving for them?
We have a whole range of different clients. I've actually categorized them and we target market towards each of them as well, the clients that we want. So for this particular person, she was a farmer from out west. And that was her diversification. Or, if the farm had a drought year or so, that was another way of making income for the family. And that we did have a massive drought, and she let me know that kept her afloat during the drought. So that was really good. Some people who are maybe a bit younger, maybe your tradie type people that are really savvy to the industry, they can build homes for cheap, or they can use their circles to get properties on board quite quickly and very well. So there's the benefits that they're looking for is a better return than a long-term lease, and obviously you can offer that you keep the home up to a better standard as well. And there's a few different ways you can sort of angle your service towards different target markets that
Different
might
niches.
need short-term property management.
Is that what you would do now? Considering you've got scale, so therefore you can target more verticals, more niches, a bit more of a team, a bit more depth in your product. When you're first starting, you're fighting between getting going, getting your cash flow, learning about the business, becoming better at what you do. And targeting, looking at all the niches and targeting everyone can be quite distracting and not really have the depth of value proposition for those groups. What would you say to somebody that's about to make those first few cold calls or do the research on the markets they want to approach? Would you say pick two or three? Would you where would you recommend they go?
Yeah, I think you just get in the thick of it and work things out as you go. What I've learned in this industry, which is really amazing, is that we all kind of do the same thing, but we've all got completely different models in the way we operate, especially because it's quite complex with software and cleaning and guests and travel and all of that kind of stuff. So I think the best way for someone to start, and this is how I started, is when you just go forward and get into the thick of it, then you'll learn what doesn't work for you, and then you make those systems to make sure that doesn't happen again. Or you work what does, you learn what does work for you, and then you can obviously get that data and then target that data of that type, that profile type that you need, or that type of marketing that works better for you. Um, but I'm in regional Australia. It's definitely different to coastal Australia as well. So I think there's a lot of noise out there. It's really good. I relied heavily on podcasts and even little groups for my learning earlier on.
Hmm.
But now I've gotten to a point where I've just got to look at what I've got and make sure I make the right decisions for me, kind of, paving the way, because it's really hard to follow someone else's model in this industry because they're usually in a different environment with different travel trends and different market conditions to you anyway. So don't get hung up too much on what other people are doing. Just understand the general nature of the business and the industry and hosting and hospitality and property management. And then you should be able to make decisions as you sort of progress down the line.
Yeah. And interesting enough, you or BNB Made Easy as a company has expanded territories, and you've grown in that way. When we're first starting, how important is it to focus on a particular area?
Yeah, yeah, really important. And I've learned that we have made. I don't like to call them mistakes because they're learnings along the journey, but we probably expanded a little bit too early, which really stretched us as a team. Yeah, just get what you do done really well, and keep doing that to a point where you feel you're comfortable enough to then look at something else. However, I think to our advantage, we've stuck with short-term rentals only. We haven't overly chased the mid-term or long-term stuff at all.
Hmm.
Long-term stuff at all. Mid-term, we do take some mid-term stuff. We don't do real estate sales or anything like that. We know what we want to do. We know, and we want to do that really well. So yeah, whether you're the reason we expanded is we saw opportunity in the other towns around us without other short-term rental companies in them. Our service, like we really truly believe in our service doing positive for the communities and the local economies that we serve in. So it feels good to go to another town and offer our service because that didn't exist before, and then you can then inject more money into the local economy and bring your visitors and get them spending into local businesses. So our first move was to Dubbo, which is 2 hours away, and that's where we just tested the model. What happens if something clean goes wrong or something? Yes, we can drive there. It'll cost us, but we'll keep this up our sleeve in case we have to do that. Let's try and make sure it never happens. So that's a strategy that you have to sort of lay out in a plan. Have a backup plan. Don't always look at the perfect picture. Look at what might go wrong and try and then minimize that risk, because then that'll set you up for success in the future.
Yeah, there's short-term rentals is an incredibly complex business. If you look at, I mean, any kind of accommodation business is complex, but there's, I would say, far more complexity around managing cleans, managing repairs, maintenance, checking your guests, all the technology, making sure that that all works and the workflows work to get people in and out. You can't just throw manpower at it a lot of the time. You can't just say, "Hey, I'll get someone at front desk to sort this out." So you really need to have. So when we're scaling and we're looking at different areas, we have to be really cognizant of getting an area working for us before we can go into the next one. Because, like you said, there's a lot of risk that comes with it.
Exactly, and I agree when you say it's complex. It's two industries at least in one, which is the property management. You've got to have that right, and that's the owners who need their property looked after. There's compliance to do with that. There's a lot of learning along the way, and then you've got the hospitality part for the guests, and that's potentially why a lot of people maybe can't break a certain barrier, because it is very complicated. Smart use of technology, I'd recommend. So really use technology that can automate sort of things that can be automated, such as guest messaging, even onboarding. AI is an incredible tool that's emerging into the
Mm,
space in a lot of different ways. So we're watching that quite closely, which will create efficiencies. But all what that should do for your people is allow your humans and your people on the ground to be more human in the hospitality transaction. So looking after people, making sure the homes are ready and spot checked and ready to go, etc. So yeah, it's a really good balance of tech and people in this industry, which is why I think it's going to go a long way through this AI period. I don't think there's any threat. I think people may even get more time to travel and have their leisure sort of time, which when they do travel, they need somewhere to stay. Yeah, a good mix of systems, technology,
is going to really help.
but then definitely using your people for what they're useful for, which is being human.
So I definitely want to talk about those steps of scaling and growing at different points that you've gone through. And I'll let you choose whether to talk about technology first or the other one, because um, quite often when we build our businesses, we can get ahead of ourselves in terms of trying to build all the systems and the processes and get everything absolutely right. Then we jump into it and then we find out that what we had built is completely irrelevant, or it just doesn't work. People aren't using it the way that we thought it would be used. We set up this massive marketing campaign. We're going to make millions of dollars or bring in all these leads and clients, and we do it, and it just didn't work. Facebook just didn't work or the campaign didn't work, or Instagram didn't work, or the mailbox drop didn't work. With technology, when we're looking at that, the tech stack, when we're getting started, what's the best thing to do at this particular moment?
When you're getting started, it is quite challenging because it's all kind of new as well. It may be expensive for you at the very start as well. And there might be a lot of noise out there, a lot of people offering solutions that may not be as good as what they are selling them as. So definitely when you're looking at your technology, but on the other end of that, the value of your time is something to learn pretty quick in this industry as well. If technology can allow you more hours to do something else, then that's a really great move, no matter the investment
Mm.
that you have to make for it. So the technologies over the course of my time in this industry, which is getting close to 7 years now, has evolved quite tremendously. It's still got a long way to go. The industry is still quite fragmented in my point of view, as far as everyone kind of does something, but nothing does everything. But that's the industry we're in, and we have to sort of just use what we can to move forward with the technology that we choose. So definitely look for tech that saves you time so that you can then apply your time to building those relationships with people or anything else that you need to do. It might be hiring staff, might be holding interviews, might be training, etc. So
I
try to
think
go
that's
with the, sorry,
no, that's all right. Go on.
try to go with the most. So my advice is try and definitely verify the technology that you're about to go onto. That might be their time in the industry. It might be the size that they are. It might be what they offer. It might be their local, their support as well. So again, if you look at decision making, look at worst case scenario and try and minimize those risks, and you should be able to make a good decision that allows you to move forward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Finding the things that you're doing, or looking at the things that you're doing that are taking the most amount of time, and then you're trying to put a system and a process around it, or technology to try to help you save that time, so that you can regain it to do other things. And I think it's really important if we think about like guest communication when we're at three, four, five properties. Do we really need an automated tool to automate guest communications? Yes, it could be good, but do we need to sit there and spend a lot of time configuring it, making sure that it works and that sort of thing? Another good one is the number of platforms that you're on. Should you be on all of the OTAs from day one, or can you just stick with the top two or top three when you get started? So the more complexity you bring into it, the more time it actually might cost you on the other end. You're actually not solving a problem which is a real problem. For example, if you're trying to get guests, you just need to get guests through the door. And if you're getting guests through the door, do you need to go and start to get onto all the different platforms and complicate your business with that? Or can it be easy because you've got a good channel management solution? So really understanding the problem that you have, or that's taking you the most amount of time, is going to be invaluable in terms of making a decision as to whether to invest the time and the energy And also, I think it might go back down to your plan, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And like go and find out that information. I mean, and if something's not working, like retract on the decision. Like most decisions are two-way doors. You can retract on them. You might be disappointed, but however, really good lesson learned. Really good lesson learned for you for when you go and choose your next tech. And we've done that several times along the journey. Sometimes, you feel embarrassed. You're like, oh man, I've gone too long and I hadn't made this decision. But again, lesson learned. Like you're a stronger person, you're a stronger company, stronger business moving forward because you do make mistakes, and if they're only mistakes if you don't learn from them, otherwise they're lessons. So yeah, just work with what you've got at your size and your revenue with what you can, and you'll get to a larger size and be able to make other decisions in the future.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so inflection points or kind of different points of growth. So I think people could probably rewind and watch our previous episode to get a bit of an idea as to how you got to where to the sort of 140 properties. I wouldn't mind if you kind of took us through that a bit, or maybe just talked about those different points where you know that the business is changing and what it means to the business owner and to the business. And generally, the way that we measure that is by number of properties. Is that right?
So yeah, there's definitely points along the line, and it feels like to be a point of number of properties along the line where businesses need to look at where they're going and maybe come up with different solutions to the current challenges that they have. It seems to be that way. We were at VRMA last year, and it was like there was a slideshow there that reflected exactly what I was thinking at certain property points. So it's definitely something that happens at scale. And it's a bit, I engaged a business coach early and I learned a lot of the structure around business, which is another piece of advice I would give to anyone who might need that coaching or assistance. But it's kind of like a mountain peak. So you've got your goal, you've got your plan, you work to that point, and only until you get to that point can you see the next mountain as well. And you know the challenges that lay ahead. And that's happened for us. And only at that point, if you don't change anything, or if you don't adapt or set a new plan, you may start to decline as a company as well. There's been 3 or 4 of those in the history of BNB Made Easy where we've got to a point where like, okay, this is not working, this is breaking, and then we look for the solution.
Mm.
So an example of that was definitely around that 20 property or so. We needed software because things were becoming way more complicated. And I think I drove out a staff member because she was manually assigning all the cleans and scheduling the cleans and that too. So good lesson learned there. But so we engaged software that's auto schedules. So then all of a sudden, whoever I replaced her with now has more time to check over things and apply herself to the business. And then as we're getting larger, you're looking at structure of people and training of people so that they can then do your everyday business and you can
Mm.
continue planning for the future. So definitely points in time. I think it's about 20-25 properties. Then it might be around 80 to 100 properties. And then 200 is definitely another point in time. So as a company, and this might be more so to our environment, but as a company, we had to sort of look at how we were servicing our four regions at that time, and we were only servicing it from the one place. And then we really trained up some middle management sort of staff and hired some middle management staff so that then they could take care of their own towns, encourage them to think on their own and make decisions, and that town to be a bit more autonomous so that they can then serve their town under our core values too. So yeah, definitely points in time where things are starting to break, but you'll have to change or revisit the plan or change the way you're doing some things. And if you can capture that before it happens, like you get experience over time. Sometimes you can see, oh, in another 20 properties, this is going to break, or we're going to need another staff member in this area. Then you can actually be a bit proactive in that respect.
Fascinating. So a lot of it is that training in the people. That's something that we found as well. The more we scale, the more we grow, the more training materials and onboarding for anybody that comes and joins us as even as a freelancer or whatever. So they really understand what the business is, where it's going, what we're trying to achieve, and not to make the same mistakes over and over and over again, or just having a process that they can actually follow that's written down rather than something that's head or somebody else's head.
And it gets complicated. The more people you bring in, the more different characters you have, and you need different characters in the business so you can manage situations differently or take in different ideas, do different tasks, obviously. And they come in with different skill sets and backgrounds, and they can actually contribute to the business too. However, they all need management. So yeah, sort of layering up your company as you grow, as far as sort of management goes, especially training and what do you call it, systems and procedures, just to help them on their way so that they can then contribute positively, is a very key step in being able to scale.
Yeah. Um, there's only a couple more questions I want to ask for this episode because we are starting to wrap up on time. Business coach, you talked about that being a key part for you. How do you find a business coach? And yeah, how do you find a business coach?
Really good. I found mine early on. I came into this business as a 32-year-old, so I'd had a few backgrounds behind me, and I understood the value of experience. And I knew that I didn't have experience in business. I kind of thought I understood a little bit,
Yeah.
but I know that experience counts. So there, I made the decision to just inquire with someone. So I did a little bit of research into who was sort of local, because I wanted to see them face to face, and a bit of a scary step and definitely an investment for me. And then I found someone that had been there before, someone who could challenge me on my perspective as well, someone who could help train me in things that I wasn't great at or still aren't great at in some respect as well, and someone who can also help me understand what I'm doing this for. What's the 5-year plan? What's the personal plan? What's the business plan? Just someone to bounce off every now and then. And this business is tough. Like, it's really tough to get to this point, and mentally, we've got families and life and everything else happening at the same time. It is really challenging. So that business coach can also act. They know, they've seen it all before. It is the reason why a lot of people either fold or decline or can't keep up with it. He's also there for me as a bit of a sounding board and a bit of a, in some terms, yeah, just a friend, just to keep an eye on me too. So
So when you said that you're trying to find this person, when when you find them, and you're like, oh, they might be a good fit, or they might have the right experience. Were they advertising as business coaches, or was it
yeah,
something
yeah,
you?
yeah. This guy was, and I suppose it's, again, another decision that you have to make. So if you're going to spend money on it, you need to analyze it and review it. And this coach kept giving me value. He kept teaching me things. So I thought, yeah, this is good. Like, this is going to be great. To the point where everything that I didn't know before, I know now. Everything I didn't know before, I know now. So I kind of have that. I just go to him to verify now. Like, this happened. This staff member sort of left. Here's how I'm going to replace them. Have a quick look at this. What do you think? Like, and then he might come in with a different perspective. Have you thought about the next 2 years and where you need to go with this position? Or, it's a really positive thing to have. And again, just someone to talk to, because it is hard. Even like my wife and I are directors of the company, and I don't like to take work home, but sometimes you naturally do when you're running your own business. That probably puts pressure on the relationship sometimes, and it's good to have someone else to talk to who can see things outside of the family household and the perspective and the pressure that it's putting on you personally as well.
Yeah, I think the coaching is invaluable, and having the right networks and the right people around you to help with the growth and help you through challenges as well. Because as you said, it's not just growing the business. There's all the other parts of it that experience really helps with, especially when you're in stressful situations or situations that you deem very, very stressful. But you talk to the coach and they're like, "Ah, it's nothing. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, I'll add something really quick, Bart, which is really good. So when I was much smaller, it was about learning for me, about learning how to do business, about learning profit and loss statements, about learning staff and hiring and all of that kind of stuff. So that was valuable then. Now I know that I'm experienced in that. But now the value is just the value of one decision in this company. Now that we're larger, has a huge sort of return on investments. It's more about guiding now. Like, you're on our team now, and he's been with us for 5 or 6 years. So he knows the family. He's seen the struggles. He understands the opportunity. He understands the challenges. So it's really a really positive person to have on your team, especially if they've known you for a while, to keep them engaged. Because if I was to go to a new consultant now, we'd have to start again as far as the background of the history of the company goes, the family relationships to be built. There's something about having someone early and then carrying them through. There's just a bit bit more depth there, that a bit more care in decision making, and a bit more understanding of where the business is at and what your personal goals are and how to get towards them.
And being in short-term rentals, is it critical to get someone with a short-term rental experience?
No, quite contrary, actually. Like, great to have someone with general business experience. Sorry, because they can come in with it. You can be the expert on short-term rentals. They can be the expert on business and finance. Like, once you get to that maybe 80, 100 property mark, you're away from hosting now. You're running a business. You've got people who are relying on this business to be successful. In guests, staff, clients, especially. So. Decision making becomes a critical sort of point that you need to be making the right decisions to ensure the business keeps evolving moving forward.
Final question for today. Last time we caught up, it was the 140. Now it's the 240 properties, about 100 more, which means that from a scaling point of view, it's sort of almost 30-40% a year, year on year. I don't know if I did the math right, but what's the secret to that sort of growth from almost doubling in size in a couple of years?
Yeah, really good question. I think as you're growing and looking forward, like we've had to move to we've had to scale to different markets to continue growing. So it's definitely that planning. Do you want to scale? Do you not want to scale? Like we saw that in Orange, we kind of hit our plateau in Orange, hit our peak. So if we wanted to keep growing, we had to go to different markets. So good, I did want to keep growing. Some people may not want to, but we made that decision too. But that comes with, again, planning, systems, structured staff, and training. It's all relative to being able to get to that next step. Always setting goals that might be a bit dreamy, but 130 properties when I first started was just almost not achievable. But here we are today. We're 240. We've come through an incredibly challenging time with interest rates rising over the past 18 months, and clients churning faster than ever before just because they're making their own personal financial decisions. But we're still here, and we've been developing as a business and building. And I think we're ready for an exciting time ahead, however long that may be. Our business is stronger now than it ever has been because of that challenging time. We've embraced it as a company, and we've jumped in and helped each other out. It hasn't always been easy, but here we are today, and we're looking at continuing to grow.
It's that adaptability that you learn through challenging times, be it COVID, be it the whole way through, and then you know what to do. You know whether it's time to call in the business coach, it's whether to pull back, whether to go full throttle ahead. And there are so many unknowns, but it's getting the data back as you're making the changes and really understanding it. So, look, Tim, I'm going to wrap up because we've done a good 40 minutes, and I really like to keep these episodes accessible to people to listen in the car. So as they're driving to their next location and they can get a soundbite. I'm impressed with your journey. I love what you do. I love your ethos and the giving nature of yourself and Flora as well. Wonderful people in the industry and real champions for the industry. So look, thanks for taking time out of your day. I know that you're incredibly busy with your work and what you have to do to teach people your journey and what you found to be useful and not. I really appreciate it. Is there any final thoughts or tips that you could give people?
I'm prepared for this. No, I just think, I think it came up a fair bit in our journey. Just make sure you have a plan. It's always easy to work towards something. It's always easy to review something. Whether we just reviewed our plans and we probably hit 50% of what we were going for, and that's fine. And acknowledge it, okay, and then reset our next plan moving forward. And the reasons for it might be external, they might be internal. It's just part of business. Again, lessons learnt, no mistakes, just lessons learnt. And just keep going with a positive attitude. And I'm in a great spot right now for my family compared to where I was before I started the business. So if there's any reason to keep pushing through, that's it.
Thank you so much, Tim. Now, folks, if you are tuned in on the Spotify or on iTunes, leave us a review. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, most of you aren't actually subscribed, so hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as to how you're going with your journey, how many properties you have, what might be valuable for you for Tim to give his thoughts on. Tim, you're awesome. I appreciate you so much, and looking forward to talking to you soon.
Always a pleasure, Bart. Thank you very much, and look
My
forward to the
pleasure.
next time.
Take care.
Cheers.